Because we are royal.
Because we are royal.
We will do what's right.
We will do what's right.
Because we are chosen.
Because we are chosen.
We will love with all our might.
We will love with all our might. Oh, oh, oh.
We are royalty.
Oh, oh, oh.
The King has chosen you and me.
Oh, oh, oh.
We are royalty.
Oh, oh, oh.
The King has chosen you and me. Because we are royal.
Because we are royal.
We will do what's right.
We will do what's right.
Because we are chosen.
Because we are chosen.
We will love with all our might.
We will love with all our might. Oh, oh, oh.
We are royalty.
Oh, oh, oh.
The King has chosen you and me.
Oh, oh, oh.
We are royalty.
Oh, oh, oh.
The King has chosen you and me. Sing it out!
Jesus!
Is our King,
Jesus!
loves you and me.
Jesus!
Is our King,
Jesus!
loves you and me.
Jesus!
Is our King,
Jesus!
loves you and me.
Jesus!
Is our King,
Jesus!
loves you and me.
Oh, oh, oh.
Let's sing!
We are royalty. Oh, oh, oh. The King has chosen you and me.
Once upon a time, in the kingdom of Erenwyn, King Asher lived in the grandest castle ever known. He was the wisest and bravest king to ever rule Erenwyn. It was King Asher's birthday, and royalty from all over the world travelled to his castle in order to attend his birthday banquet. There was even a rumour that the king might be making a very special announcement. The king simply sat on his throne, enjoying the company of his friends. Then, when the king stood to make his announcement, a hush fell over the guests. But before the king could say anything, something terrible happened.
Why is everyone looking at me so strange? Never seen a princess eat a cupcake before?
Princess Callan, where have you been? I've been looking everywhere for you.
Oh, now what? Did the guards tell on me again? It was just one cupcake. All right, it was 4. But they were really, really small.
This is not about cupcakes, Princess. This is about your father. He's been kidnapped by the evil Queen Melise.
Queen Melise? What does she want with my father?
Well, we all know she lives in the Enchanted Forest, and it's been creeping closer and closer to the borders of Erewhon. I think she wants to take over your father's kingdom, too.
No one has ever gone into the Enchanted Forest and lived to tell about it. You have to go rescue my father.
You just said no one's ever lived to tell about it. I'm not going into the Enchanted Forest. I've heard the stories, the walking trees, the dragon that guards the queen's lair. Besides, now that you're queen...
Wait, what? Queen? No.
Yes, with your father gone right now, you're next in line to rule the kingdom.
I don't even know how to rule a kingdom. I haven't even finished royalty school. And I can't even wear matching shoes. Besides, you're my father's best guard. You can rule.
You're the child of the king. I may be your father's best guard, but I am not of noble birth. It is your responsibility, and your kingdom is depending on you, my queen.
Okay, I'm done with Brownie.
One of the bravest queens in all the land was Queen Esther. But she wasn't brave on her own. She depended on God to give her the strength and courage she needed. Esther was a beautiful girl, and she was one of God's people. She lived with her cousin Mordecai, and the two of them loved God very much. When Esther grew up, the king of her land, King Xerxes, chose her to be his queen. The king did so many nice things for Esther. He gave her fancy clothes and pretty jewels, but there was trouble brewing. King Xerxes had a helper in his palace called Haman. Haman did not love God or his people. Haman was really clever and planned to trick the king into making a law that would have all of God's people killed. When Esther heard about this, she knew she had to talk to the king. But it wasn't as easy as just walking into the throne room. If King Xerxes didn't ask you to come speak to him and you just showed up, it could mean big trouble. You had to be invited to speak to the king. Even the queen needed an invitation. Queen Esther didn't have the bravery or the courage to speak to the king on her own, so she asked for God's help. She also asked her cousin Mordecai and all of God's people to pray for her. As they prayed, Esther went to talk to King Xerxes. The king was happy to see her and invited her in. He said to her, "Tell me what you want and I'll give it to you." She invited the king and Haman to a dinner where she exposed Haman's plan to kill her people. The king couldn't believe that Haman would do such a terrible thing and had him taken away for good. Because Esther depended on God for help, God's chosen and special people were safe. It's easy to think we can depend on ourselves, but we are blessed when we depend on God.
In royalty school, they taught us that we can depend on God. He will help us get through this. Queen Melis will not take our kingdom.
Now that's the spirit, my queen.
Please stop doing that. There's only one ruler in Erwin, and it's King Asher. We are going to rescue my father.
But in the Enchanted Forest? By ourselves?
That's right. This will be the greatest quest that anyone has ever known. They'll write stories about us.
Just as long as they leave out the part where I cry like a baby.
Ace, you don't cry like a baby.
Not yet. But the Enchanted Forest.
The great guard Aislinn, the bravest in all the kingdom. You're even brave enough to go down into the dungeon without a lantern.
You're right. Besides, this is a quest to rescue the greatest king to ever have ruled Arwen. And I am Aislinn, the protector of the royal family.
And I'm Princess Callan. Let's go rescue my father.
Good day to all of my children. I am King Jesus, and I'm so excited to tell you a true tale that happened long, long ago. You can read it for yourself in the best book ever. Do you know what book that might be?
The Bible!
Yes, indeed. If you want to hear a story from the Bible, then let me see you click on your listening ears.
Click, click!
Now don't forget to put on your special eyes.
Zoop, zoop!
You look ready to me. Once upon a time, there lived a girl named Esther. Can you say Esther?
Esther!
Esther was one of God's people. She lived with her cousin Mordecai, and the two of them loved God very much. When Esther grew up, the king of her land, King Xerxes, chose her to be his queen. She got to live in the palace, play dress-up, and wear all of the fancy jewelry. But the king had a helper in his palace named Haman, and Haman did not love God or God's people. He tricked the king into making a new rule that would get rid of them all. Mordecai heard about this new rule, so he rushed to tell Esther what Haman had done. This new rule would mean that all of God's people would be killed, even Mordecai and Queen Esther. When Esther heard what was happening, she knew she needed to talk to the king. But there was a problem. If King Xerxes didn't ask you to come to speak to him and you just showed up, you could get in big trouble. Queen Esther knew she needed help, God's help. So Esther asked Mordecai and all of God's people to pray for God to help her to be brave and talk to the king. Let me see all of you pretend to pray for God to help Queen Esther. As they prayed, Esther went in to talk to King Xerxes. And he was so glad to see her. Queen Esther told him all about Haman's plan to kill God's people, including her. The king could not believe it and had Haman taken away for good. God's chosen and special people were now safe, all because Esther knew that she needed God's help. When you ask God for help, He knows that you love Him. He's always with you and is ready to help at all times. So let me hear you say this after me. God,
God,
helps
Helps
me.
me.
You got it. Great blessings will come to all my children who remember what we learned today. Have fun in the kingdom and know that I'm always here when you need me.
I need you close, close, close to me. When I'm sad, you're here with me. Help me do what's right. Give me strength. When I'm proud, Jesus, help me see. We're blessed and always will be sons and daughters of the King. We're royalty. We're blessed and always will be sons and daughters of the King. We're royalty. You are forever our King. I wanna show your love